like puffed up and your hair done and stuff.
There are people in my family not doing that with their beards. They're doing that with other.
Yeah,
parts,
I know.
But, no, I don't.
No, you got beards.
Baruch Hashem. A little bit of gel and some perfume in my beard, and I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing serious. Okay. Where'd we leave off? It's been a sort of a. Did we get to Oisches?
I think we're up to that now.
I think we just got up to Oisches.
Yes.
Right. The last thing we saw was why Avram gave everything to Yitzchak, because of the union of Ma'oban. Right? Mm-hmm. Al Pizeh Yesh Leimar. This came up before, I believe, but we didn't deal with it at length. Al Pizeh Yesh Leimar Ches, page 294. Bir al davar pella. Something very wondrous. Bir b'Chassidus, b'Sifrei Yesod shel Torah shebal peh shel Chassidus. The explanation of this whole idea in Chassidus, in the fundamental book of Torah shebal peh of Chassidus, which those two books are Torah and Likutei Torah of the Alter Rebbe. But Parshas Eliezer v'Nisui Yitzchak and Rivka. This whole story of Yitzchak and Rivka, we're going to go until about 1:45 today. Is that okay? I mean, we're starting late, so we'll go a little late. And then I was going to leave at 8:15 and go pick up my son and bring him here. But he was up, so he went to mikveh and I brought him. I figured better to be late than schlep back and forth. Okay? So it happens to be, where should this be? So it should be in Parshas Chaye Sara, in Torah. That's where it should be, but that's not where it is. It's not where the Alter Rebbe discusses the whole story of Yitzchak and Rivka. Where does he discuss it? So he discusses it at the very end of Likutei Torah, as the Rebbe is going to mention. Eina Mafia doesn't appear bimkeme in its place, but Torah or Parshas Chaye Sara. Torah or, of course, is Bereshis and Shmos, and Likutei Torah is V'yikra b'midbar and Devarim, with a little bit of Shmos at the end. I mean, at the beginning, there's some Maimarim from the end of Shmos. Now, why is it that way? Well, because it's mentioned in the Yemim. Printing presses in Russia were closed for printing Jewish books for a certain period of time. So they printed Torah Or, and they couldn't print Likutei Torah. It was going to be called Torah Or. That's the name of the book. So they couldn't print the second half of Torah Or. So they only printed it much later, and then they added certain biurim of the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek, and so they decided to call it Likutei Torah. So it's the same book, but so it's not in its place in Torah or in Parshas Chaye Sara, ela davka b'Likutei Torah. It's in Likutei Torah, and where? U'b'Sefer, at the end. Parshas Bracha, Zaysa Bracha, the last parsha in the Torah. Seif haDrushim al chamisha chumshei Torah. The end of the Drushim, Chassidus Maimar, on the 5 books of the Torah. V'achar kach ba'im haDrushim al shirashim, and then the shirashim. Kinyan bifnei atzmei. There's something that's separate, michamisha chumshei Torah, from the Torah itself. V'yesh leimer. So why is it that the Alter Rebbe saw fit, or it was seen fit? It wasn't really the Alter Rebbe who did this, because by the time they actually put Likutei Torah together, so it was the Tzemach Tzedek. That being said, the Alter Rebbe didn't put it in Bereshis. Why didn't he put it in Parshas Chaye Sara? V'yesh leimer shebezeh gam meruma, as it's hinted. Shashlichus shel Eliezer, the shlichus of Eliezer, lifol es nesui Yitzchak v'Rivka, to bring about the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, yichud ma'an ban, the unity of ma'an ban, v'shleimuse b'geula, and the ultimate shleimus of this, which is going to happen in the geula. He hashleimus v'hatachli shel kol inyanei aveda. This is the completion and the ultimate purpose of all aspects of aveda. Lefichach, therefore, nizbar inyan zeh b'seif. This is written and explained at the end. v'siyum, the conclusion, v'shleimus, and the completion, shel Torah or v'likutei Torah. Meaning, what's the sach hakol of the whole Torah? At the end of it all, what is it? Yichud manba. So that's at the end. It's an amazing idea. V'achar kach. And then what comes right after that? Ba'im ladrushim shel shir hashirim. What's shir hashirim all about? Nisuin. The nisuin of Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what shir hashirim is all about. Right? Meaning that it's a lover talking to his beloved. Okay, so who is that? Ultimately, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. And then shir hashirim, shetech nehu. What's the content of shir hashirim? Shleimus and nisuyim. The ultimate marriage, not the betrothal, but the marriage. Hayichud, the unity. Shal Yisrael, Keneshamas begufim, as souls and bodies. Imakadosh Baruch Hu, Hashleimus shal yichud ma'anban. Shir hashirim is all about the ultimate expression of the unity of ma'anban. Kefisha seyeh begula mitzvah v'shleim, as it will be in the time of the true and complete redemption, the times of Mashiach. So that's why this whole story is printed at the end, because it's the end. And then once that happens, so then the shir hashirim, then there's the marriage. V'lohoisif, shebetchila sefer likutei Torah, to add at the beginning of sefer likutei Torah, Parshas V'yikra, shemisham maschilim adrushim b'likutei Torah al seder parshal sefer sholim. That's where it begins. The drushim and likutei Torah are in a whole book, the book of V'yikra, Sefer V'yikra. Masha'inkein, that's not the case of what's before that. Lifnei zeh, yesh drushim makal shtei parshas b'sefer shmeis, parshas b'shalach and parshas b'kudei. Right, there happen to be some maimarim that weren't in Torah or that were put in the beginning of Likutei Torah on parshas b'shalach and parshas b'kudei, and then it starts V'yikra. But really, when you talk about Likutei Torah, you say it starts in V'yikra. There are drushim before, but it starts in V'yikra, and that's when a whole book is discussed. What's discussed at the beginning of that? Nisbar inyan hashlichus l'mayla. It talks about the inyan of shlichus above. Shekol echad misrael hu shlichus shel adam elyon k'meisei. That every single Jew is a shaliach of Adam elyon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, k'meisei, like him. Shekadosh Baruch Hu shalchei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him, every single Jew, liyos neshama l'mata, to be a soul below, baguf, in a body. In order to do what? Kedei shetifel, that's a shlichus beilim. In order to do shlichus beilim, in order to do the neshama shlichus in the world. And what's that shlichus? To bring about dir b'tachtonim. And what's that? That's the yichud ma'anban. V'yesh lemer shebezeh. This is a fact. Shedavar zen nizbar betchilas bascholas Likutei Torah. This is brought about. This is mentioned at the beginning of Likutei Torah. Nirmaz, this hints. Shezu escholas shel avedas adam is the beginning of a person's aveda. Hayadiya, the understanding, shu shluchah shel adam elyon, that he's a shliach of the Eibishter. Once a person understands he's a shliach of the Eibishter, so then his avodah can start. He understands what he's doing in Elam Hazeh. What does that mean? That this religion business isn't about me. Being a shliach isn't about me expressing my reality as a shliach. Shlichus is about the one who sent me. The one who sent me wants done whatever the one that he wants done, and the shliach is completely bottled to the mishaleach. So being sent to Elam Hazeh as a neshama and a guf isn't about me becoming a super religious person and elevating myself spiritually and becoming a better person and fulfilling my potential and all that's very nice, that's good, and it should happen. But what's Elam Hazeh all about? Shliach the Eibishter to bring about what the Eibishter wants in Elam Hazeh. So that's the beginning of Likutei Torah. Reminding a person or teaching a person that they're a shaliach. Ubasiyim of Likutei Torah, and the end of Likutei Torah means bar oides hashleima shel aveda. Talks about the completion of the aveda. What's that? Yichud ma'aban. That's the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka. Kachona l'nisuin lasid lava, and that's all a preparation for the wedding lasid lava, and that's Mashiach. Amazing. So that little paragraph is like a mini Sicha in the Sicha about why it is that the Alter Rebbe discusses what he discusses in Likutei Torah and in what order. Now, at the very beginning of this, how do we get into this discussion? We got into this discussion because we said that the whole Indian of Mashiach is Shaliach, right? Shlach na biyad tishlach. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he said Shlach na biyad tishlach, right? When he said that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, send the one you're going to send. So what do Chazal say? That means, why are you sending me? Now, simple shot. Why are you sending me? I'm not going to finish the job. Send Shaliach, send Mashiach. He's going to finish the job. He's going to take them into Eretz Yisrael and bring about the ultimate Geula. So why send me? Oh, but Pepinemius, what did the Rebbe say that really meant? Moshe Rabbeinu was asking to be the Goyal Achron. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Goyal Rishon, was asking to be the Goyal Achron. He was asking to be Mashiach. Meaning, let the one that you're sending now be the one you're going to send later. That was really Moshe Rabbeinu's request. He wanted to be part of the Geula Amitis V'Shleima. And the Eibishter acquiesced to that and said, yes, no problem. And that's the whole idea of the Goyal Rishon, Goyal Achron. It comes from that pasuk the Rebbe said, which is an incredible chiddush in the beginning of the Sichas. Therefore, the whole idea of Yispashtus of the Moshe B'chol Dar V'Dara, the expression of Moshe in every generation. Why is there an expression of Moshe in every generation? Because there's a potential Mashiach in every generation. If Mashiach comes that generation, there has to be someone in that generation fit to be Mashiach. Who's that? That's the Moshe of that generation. Okay, well, where'd that come from? Moshe is saying, Shalach na biyad tishlach. Moshe is saying those words and making that request of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu granted the request. Oh, okay. So therefore we learn from that there's a connection between the union of Shaliach and the union of Mashiach. Right? Shalach na biyad tishlach is Moshe asking to be Mashiach. Al pizeh yuvan in yana shel Mashiach, b'tor Shaliach, Shalach na biyad tishlach. Now, of course, Mashiach is Shaliach with Yud. Right? What's the Yud? The Eser Keiches Nefesh. A person who uses all of their 10 powers of the soul in the context of being a Shaliach of a Kadosh Baruch Hu brings about the revelation of Mashiach. Mashiach hu ha-Shaliach. Mashiach is the Shaliach. Shal yadei nifel l'shleimus inyan ha-Shlichus. That through him it's brought about the completion of the whole notion of Shlichus. What's that? Yichud ma'oban. The unity of man ban. Shachel, when did that all begin? Shechel b'shlichus Eliezer ben Nisui Yitzchak v'Rivka. That began with the shlichus of Eliezer and the whole story of Yitzchak and Rivka. Hashlichus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what's the shlichus of Mashiach and the shlichus in general? Hashlichus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahavi asagula mitis v'shleima. The shlichus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring about the true and complete redemption, i.e. Mashiach. Sha'az yesh shleimus yichud shel neshama v'guf. Then there'll be the completion of the unity of neshama and guf. Yisrael v'kochabichu kul echad. Am Yisrael and the Eibusha will be one. V'gam b'olam, also in the world. Shleimus gilu shel lukus b'olam hazeh gashmi. The ultimate revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. Ba'ofen, in such a way, sha'olam kulei, the whole world, na'aseh dir le'is barak b'tachteini. We come dir b'tachteini, like the Medrash in Tanchuma. So now the Rebbe says, Al pi zeh muva, now from this is understood, madua yesh b'Mashiach atzmei, in Mashiach himself, gam hageder shel shaliach. Why is the Mashiach a shaliach? Mela, the Mashiach might be Avram Avinu. So Avram Avinu obviously is the Mashiach of his generation, so to speak. Obviously not Shaykh yet. But okay, so he's sending shluchim. He sent out Eliezer's, but why is he a shaliach? How is Avram the shaliach? It's also an Inyan in Avram being the shaliach. Because we're not saying Eliezer is Mashiach. You know, if you think of that generation, so if Mashiach shows up in that generation, so who is it? Obviously it's Avram Avinu. Okay, so what's Eliezer? He's the shaliach, and Avram is the mishaleach. He's something else. No. There's also a gather of shaliach by the mishaleach. Shemizbate bechibur v'yichud bein shnei inyanim. How is the union of shaliach expressed by this Hebrew, this thing we learned yesterday? This incredible idea, this unity, joining together of two different ideas. Man ban, what does that mean? Yichud man ban, Metzias la'atzmei. Tzad echad, he has his own Metzias. Now the Rebbe interesting adds kaviyachol, so to speak. What do you mean, so to speak? Well, okay, because by the tzaddik, so it's only so to speak, he has his own Metzias. I mean, he does have his own Metzias, and you see him up there, Beseder. He's walking around and he's doing what he's doing. Right? Okay, but that's only kaviyachol, because really he's just mamish, an expression of chelik elokam imal mamish. Okay, that's true, but there is this person walking around. There's the Alter Rebbe walking around. There's the Baal Shem Tov walking around. There's Rabbi Akiva walking around. There's the Rebbe walking around. There's these people. Shemizbate bechibur v'yichud ben shnei inyanim. Metzias la'atzmei kaviyachol. It's just amazing. The Rebbe adds that word kaviyachol. Shel neshama beguf. Of a neshama and a guf, basar v'dam, flesh and blood, Kipsak din a Rambam, like the Rambam says. Shemashiach, who's Mashiach? Melech mi Beis David. He's a Melech who comes from Beis David, and he's a person. Comes from Beis David, Haige b'Torah, well versed in the Torah, va'isik b'mitzvahs, and he involves himself in doing mitzvahs. David Aviv, like David his father. In other words, he's a human being walking around in Elam Hazeh. It's very from. V'yulchem milchamas Hashem, and he's going to fight the battles of Hashem. Davar mechiach, something which shows shu nimtza ba'elim shebei kaimim menagdim. He's in the world where there's going to be opposition, meaning he's in the world where there's other forces that aren't in line with the shlichus that he's sent to the world to do. Shemishum kachu tzarich l'nau milchama v'natzech. That's why there has to be. Why is he fighting a war if there's no opposition? V'yachadim zois. Together with this, shlucha shel adam elyon k'meisi mamish. He's mamish like the Eibishter. Shlucha shel adam. Meaning he's the Mashiach himself has all the gedarim of shaliach. Because what's a shaliach? Yichud man ban. So we saw that in an amazing way with Eliezer. Avram Avinu doesn't tell Eliezer what to do. Eliezer has to figure it all out himself. But he's doing it all within the context of being completely bottled Avram. We talked about it in terms of the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't tell anybody how to build a Chabad house. He told Rabbi Kuna, go open a Chabad house. What do I do? What do we do? Figure it out. Figure it out. It's funny because people outside of Lubavitch, I mean, they'll say this. They really, people outside. I mean, I think it's less now because people have, most people have some connection to it one way or the other. Not almost so many, but I remember being asked also. Your funding comes from New York. The Lubavitch Central funds everything, and the shluchim are just out there having a good time. And someone in New York is raising. I mean, if someone would think about this, they say, well, no, this is impossible. They couldn't possibly raise that much money. Okay, but someone in New York is raising all this money and giving it to these shluchim who are, in Lomita, California, eating falafel or something, whatever they're doing, making falafel night. Okay, no, it's not exactly how it works. The shliach has to go figure out how to do it. And that other Rebbe, what's kinas shluchim? So the Rebbe said at the very, very beginning of this whole thing, right? That what's the kina? Right? This was said at kinas shluchim, tafshin and beis. And what did the Rebbe say? That what's the kinas for? That the shluchim should sit down together and discuss how to bring about the ultimate purpose of their shlichus, which is Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. That's what the Rebbe says at the beginning of the sequel. Right? Why is there kinas shluchim? Sit down and talk about it. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Never does. Because everybody's a shaliach. Right? I mean, that's how the Eibishter does it, right? The Eibishter gives us all keiches to come into Elam Hazeh and figure out how to serve him. Now, obviously, he gives us a lot of help. He gives us the blueprint in how to do it. That's called Torah and mitzvahs, etc., etc. But exactly how I'm going to do that in my particular life. So figure it out. How are you going to figure it out? I don't know. You'll talk to your friends. You'll have a mashpia. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out what you're supposed to do. Shekach kedei lifal es yichud neshama v'aguf b'Yisrael. That in order to bring about the unity of the neshama and the guf and the yid, al yedei, and this is one of the things Mashiach does according to Rambam. Yaakov kol Yisrael leilech ba'al l'chazek bidka. One of the things Mashiach will do will, so to speak, force Yaakov, all of the Jews to walk in its way and to strengthen the Torah. Obviously, less than force. For yichud aruchnius v'gashmis beilam, and the unity of spirituality and physicality in the world. Tzrichim liyos bei atzman, and there must be in him himself, meaning the head shaliach and all the shluchim, shnei inyanim, these achdus amyachim, these two ideas. That's what we said earlier. The shaliach has to embody the whole notion of shlichus. What is the notion of shlichus? Yichud ma'an ban. So what's the notion of a shaliach? The yichud ma'an ban. What is a shaliach? Mitzad echad, he's completely bottled to the mishalech. That's the ma. Mitzad sheni, he's an individual and an independent person who has his own intellect, his own emotions, his own creativity, and he has to figure out how to use that in Elam Hazeh to bring about what the Eibishter wants. Unbelievable. It's just such an amazing idea. Al pi zeh yuvan ateichen shel bakashas Moshe. Now we understand the content of Moshe's request that we saw earlier in the Sichas. It's part of the mind of the Sichas. Shlach na biyat tishlach. Bakasha vatzah, a request and so to speak, advice. Zu rotza Moshe lifo. This Moshe wanted to bring this about. Upal befeil, and did bring it about. What did Moshe ask for? As a chibur v'isachtu shel ger rishon Moshe v'ger lachron Mashiach, to bring about the unity of ger rishon and ger lachron. Now, even though interesting enough, Moshe himself is from Shevet Levi, and Mashiach is from Shevet Yehuda. Moshe is a Rav, and Mashiach is a Melech. Well, so Rabbi talks about the fact that that's the union of Mashiach himself. Mitzad echad he's a Rav, mitzad sheni he's a Melech. Moshe mitzad atzmei, Moshe mitzad himself, as we're going to see. Moshe mitzad himself in Yonei be'ikr chochma, Torah. It's Moshe. Moshe kosev, zichu teres Moshe avdi. Moshe is about Torah. Moshe kibel Torah misinai. Mashiach mitzad atzmei, but Mashiach mitzad Yonei be'ikr malchus. It's not a Rav, it's a Melech. Now, that doesn't mean he can't learn. David HaMelech could learn. David HaMelech speak Talmud Chacham Seder, but David, it's not called Torah's David, right? David HaMelech is David HaMelech. Moshe Rabbeinu is Moshe Rabbeinu, right? That says everything about both of them. Yamed Melech, mi beis David. Malchus is David. Yesh Lemish is Zeu al derech achiluk bein Mailas HaMashpia, the Mashpia, the one who gives over, Chochma, Rosh Spheres, Umailas HaMakabel, and the Makabel, who's that? Malchus. Al derech v'achiluk ben or hashemesh, like the difference between the light of the sun, which is the mashpia, that's Moshe, v'or lavana, the light of the moon, that's David, Malka Mashiach, Makabel, he's the receptacle, Malchus, Akasher, Im, David, Malka Mashiach, that's connected to David. So there's the mashpia and the Makabel, which I should love with man ban. Moshe kibel Torah Sinai Sara. Moshe received the Torah from Sinai and he gave it over to Yoshua and the Zakanim, the Nevim and the Zakanim. Who kibel is kol haTorah? He got the whole Torah. Shumakar hashpaz. That's the source of all that which is drawn down from above. Umimena nimshach hakayach, and from that, from the Torah, feminine, not from Moshe, mimenu, but from Menah, from the Torah. Nimshach, it's drawn down hakayach al kol inyanim. Potential and power on anything that happens in Elam Hazard. Kaya, Kailal, including obviously a Kayach LaGeula. The power to bring Geula comes from the Torah. Gama Gula Achrayda. In Yonish Mashiachu, Gael Achrin. The Indian of Mashiach is the Gael Achrin. So Moshe is the beginning of it all. Bringing into the world the Kayach to bring about the Geula. That's Torah. Mashiach is the end of it all. Who Gael Achrin. Shu Ba B'Seifa Vaydi. He comes at the end of it all. Malchus, Seifa spheres. When does Mashiach show up? At the end of Golus, by definition. It's the one that transforms Golus into Geula. Somewhere Golus. Aval, Yesh B'zeh Mailas HaMakabel. He has the advantage of the Makabel. Shall Yadei Bitulai, through his bittul. Who Kail B'Seicha B'Pnimius Kol Ashbas Milamayla. What's Malchus? Malchus is the receptacle for all of the of the spheres above. So Mitzad Echad Malchus is bittul and shiflus. Malchus has no or mitzad herself, so to speak. Right? She just makabel the or from the mashpia, from the spheres above. Simply zaz nimshach into Malchus. In Chassidus we say that the six spheres are nimshach into Malchus, and that's where they find their expression. That's where they're revealed outside of themselves, so to speak. Right? So that's Malchus. So what's Malchus? So Malchus is the repository for all of the or above. Who kelo, so that includes in it, B'Seicha B'Pnimius says Kol Hashpais Milamayla. What's Malchus? What's Malchus ultimately sourced in? Keser. Keser Malchus, the crown of the king. Okay, what's Keser? What's contained in Keser? All of the or that's going to be nimshach into the 10 spheres. It's all contained in Keser. Right? And then what? It comes down through the 10 spheres, and where is it absorbed, so to speak? Malchus. It goes back to its source, so to speak. Back to where it came from, but now it's not. It's mitzad echad. It's all the same. Malchus is Keser. Mitzad sheni, not at all, because now it's all about being revealed outside of itself, so to speak. But Malchus of one world is the Keser of the world below. Va'adarabba. Or a makabel, the light of the receptacle, magia reaches v'neveya and is drawn midarga naili shesim hamashpia, and the light of the mashpia. The source of Malchus is higher than the source of Zah. Okay, say that. What's the source of Malchus? We just said Keser. Kafishi is Gala Begula Mitis Veshlema. Now, what's going to be revealed in the times of Mashiach? The power of Malchus. What's Malchus? Nekeva, femininity. Shenekeva Tesevev Gever. The feminine is going to surround the masculine, meaning the shurish of the Nekeva, which is Malchus, which is Keser, is going to be revealed. So then it's a Soivev. What's going to happen tonight, Bezrat Hashem, in about 10 hours? So the Kala is going to go around the Chosin 7 times. Immerse Mashiach under that chuppah. Right? The Kevat Tesevev Gever. Mailas Haguf Shel Yehudi, the mile of the goof of the Yid, Lagavi Nishmaseh, relative to the Neshama. Right? Because really, the shorish of the goof is higher than the shorish of the neshama. So, be Immerse Mashiach, the neshama is going to be nizen from the goof. The neshama is going to be nourished from the goof. Now, the goof is nourished from the neshama. Be Immerse Mashiach, the neshama is going to be nurtured from the goof. Why? Because the true source of the goof will be revealed. The true source of the goof is higher than the source of the neshama. Mailas a goof shel Yehudi lagavi nishmase. Shedavka b'ay nimsa keich atzmos. Specifically in the goof is the power of atzmos. Right? Why? Because the goof mitzad echad. This is the Alter Rebbe. This is our Rebbe in his first mimer Tafshin Yud Aleph, Basil Gani Tafshin Yud Aleph, Ois Daled. So the Rebbe explains the union of Yisra and Or Min HaChoshech, the advantage of something that is higher than light, is revealed from the darkness. It's not that the greatest light is revealed from the darkness. Something higher than light, something that has an advantage over light, is revealed from the darkness. What's that? Keich Atzmos. And what's that? How is that revealed? By verse, what do you and I have in common with Atzmos? How is Atzmos revealed in this world? Well, there's something revealed in this world that's very, very unique. It isn't anywhere else. It's in 2 places in reality. This world and Atzmos. And what's that? Mitziyusim Atzmos, the notion of existence by virtue of itself. Now, down here it's not true. We don't truly exist by virtue of ourselves, but we experience that we exist by virtue of ourselves. Our experience of existence is that I'm a self-generated being. I have my own battery pack. Right? Okay. So now, that's not true. Ultimately, you and I are kalim, and Or is being nimshach milamaila into us and giving us our energy and giving us our vitality and giving us our existence, etc., etc. Okay, that's certainly true. That's not what I experience. When I wake up in the morning, it's just me again. First thing I say is Maidani lefanecha, thank you. Okay, but that's already an aveda. What do we experience? Self. You don't think humans experience self? Have a conversation with one. What do they talk about? Themselves. Right? Okay. That's what humans experience. Okay. Unless they work at it. So that experience of existence by virtue of self, a malach doesn't have that experience. A malach experiences very powerfully the godly light surging into it, giving it its existence. Why? Because it's living in a place of revelation. We're in a place of concealment. What does that concealment allow for? The apparent reality of existing by virtue of itself. Now, we don't exist by virtue of ourselves. That's not true. But it is true that we do experience existence by virtue of ourselves. That is true. Who gave us that experience? Atzmos. Keich Atzmos. Only Atzmos could possibly give us that experience because only Atzmos has that experience. Godly light doesn't exist by virtue of itself. Godly light is all about revealing its source. It's all about revealing its source in something else. Whereas Atzmos doesn't have a source. Just is. Yesh Amiti, true being. What does that mean? It doesn't depend on anything else for its being. It depends on itself. It exists by virtue of itself. This is the Rebbe, the first mimer of the Rebbe, Basil Gani, Tafshin. I mean, it's in other places in the Chassidus, but the Rebbe talks about it in Basil Gani, Tafshin Aleph, Oish Daled. It's amazing. Okay. So therefore, you and I have this interesting experience. Mitzad what? Mitzad our neshama? No, mitzad our goof. So therefore, what's the source of the goof? What could possibly give you and I that experience? Atzmus. So the goof is a living expression of the notion of Atzmus, the living experience. You want to see, you want a revelation of the idea of Mitziyusim Atzmusi, existence by virtue of itself? Just talk to a person. It's not true. Well, it's true, it's not true. But it's also true that that's what they truly experience. Unless they work at it. Okay. So then that means when you and I connect Elokus and Elam Hazeh, what are we connecting to? Atzmus. Because that's the source of that existence. And that's Yisar Na'or, the advantage over light that emerges from the dark. In the light, so what are you aware of? Source of light. In the dark, what are you aware of? Self. What's that? Where's that self coming from? Not light. Atzmus. So that's the advantage of the goof, because that's all that said the goof. Shedavka bein nimsa keich atzmus. Va'ad, to such an extent, shalosid love in the future, which will hopefully be the present very, very soon, and the neshama nizanis min haguf, like you said, and the neshama is going to be nourished by the goof. V'lochein davka Mashiach yavi hasagula. Therefore, davka Mashiach is going to bring the gula. Because what's Mashiach? A shaliach. The yichud of these two different forces, Hagula v'Shleima shel kol inyanim, gam shel Moshe Rabbeinu. So Mashiach, which is Malchus, brings about the ultimate revelation of the whole purpose of Moshe's Torah. Yichud man ban. Yesh lemer. It's just unbelievable, this thing. It's very long. I'm trying to get you through it. I mean, we're near the end. We're closer to the end than the beginning. But it's very long. Well, is that long for bringing? And this is the Rebbe talking to the Shluchim, right? The Rebbe's talking to the Shluchim and trying to explain, Chavra, what do I want from you? V'yesh lemer, shal yedei zeh shem Moshe tzliach lifol. Now we said, when Moshe said shlach na b'yad tishlach, so the Rebbe said, wait, that's chokhmah de kedusha, because that's Moshe. So it can't be that there's no reishim of this, and so the Rebbe said, well, Adarabah, the Eibishter was makabel this, the Eibishter accepted this. Said, okay, you'll be the girl Rishon, that's what you are now, that's what I'm asking you to do, even though you keep saying no, right? But I'm asking you to be girl Rishon. So you'll be, if you're girl Rishon, you'll be girl Achron. V'yesh lemer shal yedei zeh shemoshe tzliach lifol sheshaliach shalach na b'yad tishlach, which is the girl Rishon should be the girl Achara, and the first redeemer should be the last redeemer. Al yedei zeh shegirl Rishon hu girl Achara in kanal sif beis nifal, that also brought about a yichud shel shnei inyanim v'maylis, the unity of these two very lofty notions. Hashem Mashiach machil mikolel. Machil, the word kol, everything. Machil means he incorporates in himself. He includes in himself. Bekirbay, Shnei and Yonim Amaylis, two very lofty ideas. Neisef l'zeshu melech, in addition to the fact that he's a melech who gam rav. That's what we talked about earlier. Mashiach is melech and rav. He's David a melech and he's Moshe Rabbeinu, both of them. He's rav, he's a melech, which is malchus, obviously. Gam rav. Chochmah. And so what's one of the things that Mashiach does? The Rambam talks about Yelamed Torah. It's called Kula. He's going to teach Torah to the whole people. Now what's really amazing, look what the Rebbe says. Mashiach's going to be revealed, and who's he going to teach Torah to? Kel lemesh Rabbeinu va'aves. Val derech zeh b'meshe yesh legam mailis hamelech. By Moshe also, there's the notion of the Melech. What does it say by Moshe? V'hi b'shuren melech. The pasuk, v'hi b'shuren melech. Moshe is saying that, right? That's shaykh to him. So mitzad echad, the Mashiach is a Rav. Mitzad sheni is a Melech, and they're both are expressed in that person. V'yesh lemer shezeh merumaz gam b'kach, and this is also hinted in the fact shemashiach hu b'gematria shaliach b'tesefes eser, like we said earlier, that Mashiach is shaliach and yud. What are yud? The 10 keiches nefesh. Shechein, as shleimus gilui Mashiach, the shleimus of the revelation of Mashiach, who Al Yedei Zeh, by virtue of the fact, Shu Mivatseya, he expresses, Es Avedose Kishaliach, his work as a Shaliach, Im Kol Eser Keiches HaNefesh, with all 10 powers of his soul. What does that mean? Michochma ad Malchus. Now the Rebbe explained that with Panemius. It just generally people say Mashiach is Shaliach with Yud. That means a person that does a Shaliach with all 10 Keiches HaNefesh, so that's Mashiach. Okay, that's very nice, that's true. The Rebbe just explained it on a much deeper level. What does it mean 10 Keiches HaNefesh? From Chochma to Malchus, from Moshe to David. That's Mashiach. It's the Hebrew of Moshe and David. It's unbelievable. Mashiach is a Rav and Mashiach is a Melech. Al Pia Yadua, based on that which is known, Shekol Yehudi Yesh Mebechinas Mesha Mebechinas Mashiach. Every Yid has a quality of Mesha, Tanya, Reish Perek Mem Beis, Mebechinas Mashiach. That's the source of that idea, even though it's borrowed in Chabad Chassidus. The source of it is the Menarei Naim. The first one that said that was Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl. That every Yid has a spark of Mashiach. Every Yid has a spark of Moshe, so that's the Alter Rebbe. In what context does the Alter Rebbe explain that? How can it be? We saw it earlier. How can it be that Moshe Rabbeinu says that all the Eibush is asking from you is to fear him? What do you mean? So the Gemara asks, Atu Yiram Milsas Utrosi, is Yira such a small thing? We learned this a couple of weeks ago. Is fear such a small thing? That Moshe says, all he's asking is that you fear him. All he's asking is to fear him. That's like a big deal. So the Gemara asks, right? So Yira is such a small thing that Moshe says to us, all he's asking is to fear him. And what's the Gemara's answer? Yes, Lagavi Moshe, Milsas Utrosi, by Moshe, it's a small thing. But the obvious question in the Gemara, wait a minute, hold on. Moshe is speaking thus, he's not speaking to himself. If Moshe is talking to himself, so I understand that he says, okay, Moshe, if fear is a klein azach, right? It's a small little thing. But he's talking to us, and for us, fear is a very serious thing. Oh, so what does the Alter Rebbe explain? Because since every Yid has a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu, so mitzad that spark of Moshe Rabbeinu, Yira is a Milsas Utrosi. And really the Jews should ultimately use that Yira and come to a higher level called Av. Okay. That's the Alter Rebbe. So that's the spark of Moshe in every Jew. Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl said that there's a spark of Mashiach in every Jew. He's the one that's always quoted. Now you see the footnote. Moreh Naim, very famous sefer, Moreh Naim of Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl. He said something very famous to us. He actually said this. He said Mashiach's going to come after Chernobyl blows up. Now, he said this 200 years ago. Which is really wonderful. It's like, and then Chernobyl blew up, right? And the whole world, Chernobyl. Right? And the Hasidim were all laughing. Whoa. What did he mean? Like, what did they think he meant when he said that, 200 years ago? That, that all this schmutzy Russian, Ukrainian stuff is all going to blow up. All these creepy Russians and Ukrainians are going to all just disappear. The creepy anti-Semites, right? That's what you figured he meant, right? That's what you would think, right? And then Chernobyl blew up. Okay, so now we're ready for Mashiach, because Chernobyl blew up. That's what he said. Therefore, every Yid has Moshe and Mashiach. Kol Yehudi, every Yid who's Shaliach, we can't finish this ois, but okay, we'll get down there. Kol Yehudi. Because the next page, the end is here. Okay. So, we're going through it relatively quickly. Sometimes Sichas are like my Marim, that they, are just full of unbelievably deep inyanim and Chassidus, but you have to read through it a lot quicker than you would read through a Maimer. It's all explained in the Sicha, right? You have to read a lot of words. The Maimer would say this in a paragraph, and you have to explain it all. Kol Yehudi Shaliach Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'shamish es Koine, to serve his master. Klolus Shlichusei, His basic shlichus misbates lahayar sa'aretz is to illuminate the world. Lahayar sa'olam kulei, to illuminate the world. Ba'or hakadusha, ba'or eloki. I mean, obviously we know this, right? But when you hear it, and this is the chiddush of Chassidus, right? If you talk to most people about what Yiddishkeit is, they'll talk about self-growth, becoming a religious person, connecting to God. So all that's true. But what is it? Why is a Yid in Eilam Hazeh? So that he can become a greater person, a more holy person. Okay, so he's supposed to do that. He said, there's no question. But why is he here? He's here to illuminate the world, to make the world a place of Kedusha, not wrap himself up in his own little cocoon and worry about his own Yiddishkeit. Right? He has to worry about his own Yiddishkeit. He has to worry about his own Yiddishkeit in such a way that his Yiddishkeit is illuminating the world, not just illuminating his own Daled Amos and maybe his house and maybe his from neighborhood too. Okay, but most people are stuck in their own Yiddishkeit. And even if you know this, it's still very easy to get stuck in your own Yiddishkeit. Halach is coming for come if no one ever told it to you. Right, we all always just like to tell the story about the Lubavitch Chassid. It's a long story, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but just one part of the story is when the Lubavitch Chassid leaves Eilam Hazeh. So he goes up to Eilam Haba and they start asking him questions, right? So I said, did you learn Torah? Yes, no, I mean, anybody tell you to? He starts hemming and hawing, they start playing videos of the Rebbe, right? Talking about Libud Torah. And said, okay. So, yeah, okay. Did you have Avos Yisrael? It's like hemming and hawing. So, anybody ever talk to you about Avos Yisrael? So they show the 32nd chapter of Tanya, which you'll notice it takes us a week to learn because they cut it up into little tiny pieces. So we'll be living the 32nd chapter of Tanya, which is all about other people, not ourselves. And then, some Sichas of the Rebbe on Avos Yisrael. Okay. V'yakil, Parshas V'yakil, Tafrinun based the last Sicha we were to hear from the Rebbe. It didn't even get edited because the Rebbe didn't edit it because the Rebbe got sick on Monday. So learn that Sicha. It's unbelievable. It's all Avos Yisrael. It's unbelievable for bringing. Okay. You do mitzvahs? Anybody ever talk about it? They play more. You gave tzedakah? And they keep it, so they, right? I mean, what's he going to do? They just keep playing videos of the Rebbe's, telling him to learn Torah and do mitzvahs and give tzedakah and have Avos Yisrael and be a mensch and over and over and over and over and over. Right? So they look at him. Right? Or someone else might go up. Anybody ever tell you? Well, I don't know. I read in a book once. Yeah, but anybody ever tell you like what that meant? Not really. Okay, fine. So you did good. You did a good job. You stay here. That's what we all used to talk about that. He used to talk about it in terms of Eilam Hazeh, Eilam Haba, both. But that was the Eilam Haba part of it. What, we're going to pretend we don't know? How can you not know? If you ever learned Chassidus, you know what it's about. I still make it all about me. Okay, but say this. So that's me. That's not. Don't blame anybody else. It's not like someone didn't tell me that it's not about me. Right? Let's finish the paragraph. There's two different ways of illuminating the world. Right? There's two sources of light and the two luminaries in the world. Ma'ar HaGadol, the sun, Ma'ar HaKatan, small luminary. Kiyadua, what's that? It's the Mashpia and the Makabel. Kiyadua, Shagam Esa'elam Nasan Balibam, the world he gave to the heart, which means that, the Rebbe said, B'chol Yehudi Mishtakfim Kol Inyan Ha'elam, that in every Jew there's an expression of every aspect of the world's existence. Avedasa Kimashpia, his Aveda as a Mashpia, it's having a positive effect on others. Shemesh, he illuminates the reality around him, not with himself, with God. Right? Not illuminating other people with how amazing he is. Illuminating other people with how amazing God is. Vavedasa kemakabel. He also says be a makabel. The person who listens, hears things, is willing to change when he hears something that's different than what he thought. Shal yadei zen nasa laris aretz. Then he becomes someone who can illuminate the world. Ba'or chayzer, in the light that returns. Right? So there's the Or Yash, and the Or Chayzer, which we learned about, right? That the light that comes down from above below, and the light that goes from below above. Ba'or Chayzer al derech mitalmida yes mikulam. Based on the idea of from my students, I learned more than anybody. Right? I mean, the light that comes from below. There's the advantage of the light from below, and there's an advantage of the light from above. Let's read one more paragraph just to get the Rebbe says, what's this about? So these are the two things that have to be in a shaliach. Bittul le-mishaleach. He has to be bottled the Mashiach, al derech levana. He has to be like the levana. He's completely bottled in a makabel. He has to be someone who's makabel. Right? And Metzias bifnei atzmios has to have his own Metzias. What's that? A bardas. Has to be someone who's got a head. That he thinks and understands mitzad himself, through his own intellect. How can he fulfill his shlichus to illuminate the world? Unbelievable. Mitzad echad, he has to realize his life has nothing to do with him. Mitzad sheni, the only person who can live it is him. And he has to live it to the fullest within the context of his shlichus in Eilam Hazeh and revealing something bigger than him. So he can't just roll himself up into a little ball and say, I'm going to be holy. It's forgetting half the equation. You can't just be some big balgaiva who's completely impressed with his own intellect and his own. That's missing the whole show. It's unbelievable. And of course, and this is why this is one of the challenges of shlichus. Mitzad echad is a shlich. What? The people have to like you. They like you. They have to think you're a good guy. They have to want to learn from you. They have to want to have a relationship with you. You have to be someone, Mitzad sheni, you have to realize all of that has nothing to do with you. But you have to be the kind of person that people are drawn to. Or else you're not going to be very successful at it, right? Because no one's going to want anything to do with you. So you walk into some city and you want to take over the city as much as you can. Not take over, you do your best you can to illuminate that city. Okay, so that means people are going to have a positive attitude towards you. Okay, and so you have to do that, but not mitzad your own yeshus, but mitzad your bittul to the mishalech. And that's an incredible aveda. That's an incredibly fine line to walk. Because a person can get very excited about the fact that all these people like him and they think he's so cool and he's so good. And look, right? The rabbis and the rabbis. Okay, and then he can start to take that seriously. He's in bad shape. He starts to take that seriously. All right? Remember, a friend of mine started teaching in Sims. And they liked him a lot. And he enjoyed the fact that they liked his class a lot. And he still says it to me. To this day, he still says, I'll never forget what you told me. I don't remember telling him this, but obviously I did, because he remembers. He said, right after, as soon as I started teaching in the sim, he told me, don't get so excited about what 18-year-old girls think about you. Don't get so excited. They're only 18. Oh, he's such a good rabbi. Okay, that's good. It has to be that way. If there's not that, they're not going to learn from you, right? Okay, mitzad sheni, don't get so. They're only 18.